If you're having suicidal thoughts or feelings or feel like you have no hope, please call 988. There, you can talk to someone who not only cares about your story, but cares about you. Please reach out today. Thomas P. Murphy once said, "Minutes are worth more than money. Spend them wisely." At Minutes Wisely, we take that to heart. Our mission is to decrease veteran suicide by providing life-changing experiences for veterans, first responders, and Gold Star families. We believe that we can make a lasting impact by rekindling a sense of purpose and fostering community through sponsored tickets to sporting events. These experiences are not just about the game, they're about the moments that can change lives. A simple sporting event can boost joy and instill a sense of renewed hope and purpose for those who have served. Join us in making a difference, become a moment maker, and empower a veteran with rediscovered hope. Visit minuteswisely.com for more information and to get involved. Together, we can make every moment count.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of TSP. How you guys doing?
Hey guys.
Good.
All right. So every Sunday evening we sit down and talk to a veteran. So when Andrew and I started this 3.5 years ago, we found out that there's a lot of broken veterans out there in the world. So and then this show started gaining some popularity. We won a national podcast award. So we started using it to for the greater good, right? So we use this channel to send veterans, first responders, and Gold Star family members to sporting events. We're going to start reaching out to other things other than sports. We realize that not everyone's into sports, so we're going to be sending people to concerts.
Not as much as you, Fleek. You and your Detroit Lions, sir.
And so
he loves them.
Yes, big game this weekend. I'm supposed to go up to Detroit for the Buffalo Bills game. I'm not really sure if that's going to happen or not. I got some weird news from the doctor, and it's kind of got me down in the dumps, but that's a story for another day.
Okay, you did not. Okay, now we'll talk about that after this podcast. Holy crap.
I mean, I don't mind talking about it on air, but it's just it's got me a little tripped out. But I don't try to complain because there's a lot of people out there that have a lot worse than I do. So I just motor on. But how we do this, how we generate money, if you just go to minuteswisely.com, you'll see some donation links. I created this cookbook. That's me right there, a little sailor boy. And the concept of the cookbook is, my two favorite things to do is talk to veterans and cook. So what I did was I said, hey, I'm going to write a cookbook. And so I took some quotes from the podcast and I interjected them with the recipes. So I sell this cookbook for $20, be a great Christmas gift. And use that money to help fund our endeavors. Every Sunday during football season, we have a guest somewhere watching a game. Like I said, we're sending a veteran to Brett Eldridge's Christmas concert on a week from
20th,
Friday,
December 20th.
We have a bunch of other things coming up. We do a lot of cool things. It's our little way of trying to stop veteran suicide. So that's what we do here. And this also,
we do it proudly.
Also, Mr. Parker, we're in like 600 plus cities across the globe, 40 some countries, 42 countries, 44 countries.
Hey, make it a good story, Mr. Parker. Keep these guys enthralled and on the edge of their seats.
Yeah, we're out there, man.
We're out there, and this is all because of him. This is all because of Fleek. He just he asked me to do it, and I was like, yeah, sure, I'll help you out, man. I'm kind of like the comic relief of this show. But I do want to tell you guys, I do have one announcement. The Ton Tavern Legacy Foundation, the rebuilding of Tun Tavern, which is the birthplace of the Marine Corps and the United States Navy. It will be rebuilt in next November. But what is coming up this weekend?
Army Navy game.
That's right. If you guys get some donations going on for the Tun Tavern, and I'm going to send you guys the links. But if you can, if you get $250, if you get $1,000, if you get $250 in donations, you get a shirt. If you get $1,000 in donations, you get a 16-ounce mug with your name on it that's going to be in the Tun forever. So in Philadelphia, when you go visit, hey, I want my 16-ounce copper mug.
Or until it burns down again.
It didn't burn down. They took it apart. That is false. And dude, you know this, man. We had the founder of the Legacy Foundation on the podcast. So yes, it did not burn down. But yes, so go Army. Go Navy. Oh my God, go Navy beat Army. Holy shit.
See, Mr. Parker, he's a jarhead. He's supposed to be on our side this Saturday.
Yeah, well, you guys take us where we got to go fight. So thanks for the ride. Appreciate it.
All right.
Mr. Parker, would you like to start, sir? Would you like
Andrew, wait. Before we start, though, I want to find.
Yeah.
Do you have your list of questions for the end?
Nope, but I will get them. I will get the questions myself.
All right. So, Mr. Parker, what we usually do is we just have you introduce yourself, and it's basically your show. So, would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah, sure. My name is Richard Parker. I am a Navy reservist, direct commission officer. I took an unusual route in joining the Navy. I actually joined at the tender young age of 43.
Wow, what?
Yes.
He was older than me.
Exactly. Most of my friends were retiring about the time I was joining.
Nice.
So my story is unique. I actually come from a Navy family. I found out a few years ago that I had an uncle who was on the USS West Virginia during Pearl Harbor. I never knew him, but it's something very close to me to know that I have a family member who was at Pearl Harbor and survived, and went on actually to serve in submarines in the Atlantic after leaving the Pacific in December of 41. I had an uncle who served in Vietnam on river patrol. He actually got a Purple Heart and was, from what I understand, sole survivor of his boat. Was ambushed by the VC, and he was the only guy that lived. They once they fixed him up, gave him his Purple Heart, they put him on the New Jersey, and he spent a few months pounding the VC with 16-inch batteries, and ended up doing a 20-year career as a gunner's mate. So long naval history in my family goes way back before World War II. I ended up getting my first experience at sea in the Navy doing what's called a Distinguished Visitor Carrier Embark. I got to fly out to USS Harry S. Truman in February of 2010. I landed on the ship, got the trap in the cod, spent 24 hours watching flight ops on the deck, run around the ship, everything else, and I absolutely loved it. And so about 6 months after I got on the carrier and did that whole experience, my mom, who'd been sick for a while, passed away. She was 6 weeks shy of her 68th birthday. And I said to myself, I just turned 40. And I don't want to hit 70 with a bunch of regrets hanging over my head. And the biggest one I would have had was if I had not at least try to join. So I got in touch with some people, and it took me 3 years, and I had to submit the package 4 times. But I finally got in, and I got sworn in about 2 weeks after my 43rd birthday. The cutoff was 42, so I had to get an age waiver. And so that was in April of 2013. So I've been in 11 years. But interesting thing was, I was a college professor. I had a career as a college professor for a number of years, and I was about 15 years I taught college. And interesting thing happened to me about 3 or 4 months after I started going to drill weekends. My dean threatened to fire me because I joined the Navy Reserve, and so that's illegal. There's a law called USERRA.
Definitely.
It's supposed to protect people, and so I presented this to him, and it didn't get any better. So I thought about that for a while, and I said, you know what? I like the Navy a lot more than I like teaching college and dealing with you. So I worked to the end of my contract in 2014 and decided, you know what? I'm going to do Navy stuff. And so I was living in North Carolina at the time, and I packed up. I moved back with my girlfriend, who's now my wife. And for the last, 10 plus years, 10, 11 years, I've just been doing Navy stuff. And so
awesome.
I'm a public affairs officer. I'm a shore duty sailor. So my job is to tell the story of the Navy. And so I've served literally all over the world. My first operational assignment was at Pearl Harbor, which, meant a lot to me, having family that had been there. It's with the Pacific Submarine Force for about 9 months as their deputy public affairs officer. And then from there, I went to Sixth Fleet in Europe and did a lot of assignments over there, which was great because my uncle, who was in Vietnam, had done a lot of time in the Med aboard a Braunstein class frigate back in the late 70s. And so I was able to spend a long assignment in Italy in 2017. I was actually in the building at Sixth Fleet when we launched all the missiles into Syria. The summer before I went to Italy, I was in Ukraine and was part of Exercise Seabreeze, helping train the Ukrainians. Really proud of what their guys did with the Navy over there. They managed to inflict some good damage on the Russians with very little fleet. I got to participate in a NATO exercise in Norway with the Marines. I was the only sailor ashore with the Marines. Funny story about that was I got a lot of ragging about not being underway for that exercise. All the other reserve sailors like, haha, we're getting sea pay, we're getting all this sea time and whatnot. I said, yeah, you know what else you're getting? You're getting eaten in galley for the next 3 weeks. I got every restaurant in Trondheim, Norway at my disposal. And by the time those guys got off the ship, they were not happy to see me because they had all been eating galley food for 3 weeks. And I'd been, dining it up in Trondheim, Norway for 3 weeks. So that was good. Japan, Guam, Mauritius, Colorado. Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot. So Navy's been great to me.
Well, that's pretty awesome.
Do they call is it still public affairs in the Navy, or do they call it Comstrat like they do in the Marine Corps?
Comstrat's Marines. Okay. Navy's still public affairs.
Okay. Wow, that is impressive. That's very wow. I'm blown away, man. That's some cool freaking stories. Wow. What were you a college professor of?
I taught business. My PhD is in mass communication, so it makes sense that I would do public affairs. But yeah, I taught marketing, advertising, public relations. I taught leadership communication in an MBA class for many years.
Man,
my first teaching gig was up at Western Kentucky University from 2001 to 2005, and this is the 20th anniversary of the cheating scandal I had in my ethics class. Little touch of irony if you like that sort of thing, but you never forget cheating scandal in an ethics class.
I didn't even hear about a cheating scandal in an ethics class.
Of course you didn't.
Do tell about this story, sir.
That's not a Navy-related story, but
I don't know, but I'm a college grad myself, and I kind of bent the rules sometimes a little bit at Rollins College before I joined the Marine Corps, which I joined at 26. I thought I was old as shit. You joined at 43. I was like, holy, oh my God.
All right. Time to blow your mind now, because at my officer class at Direct Commissioned Officer School in Newport, which was February of 2014, I showed up with another dentist. I'm not a dentist, but I showed up with a guy who's a dentist. There were a bunch of dentists that were in our class. This guy was my age. So we're both 43, and we figure we've got to be the oldest guys here. Hands down, we got to be the oldest people here. Well, about 20 minutes after we got there, another dentist shows up. He's 49.
What?
We're like, okay, this guy's got to be the oldest guy here. Well, about an hour later, here comes a guy walking in. He's a thoracic surgeon. He's 50. And we're like, okay, this guy is this. Now he's it. Hour later, here comes an oral surgeon. He's 53.
What?
And we're like, okay, this guy is it. No. End of the day, in walks the final dentist in the group, 61.
Get out of here.
Years old.
He was 61.
Wow.
He
His
was
first
61.
day in the Navy.
And well, apparently he could stay in until he was 68 from what he told us. So he'd have 7 years. He'd been a radioman second class back in the mid 70s. And he sold his dental practice and decided to come back in and just have fun for a while.
Now, those guys, dentists and stuff like that, they get like bumped up 2 ranks, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. We had guys that were, 04s, 05s coming right into to direct commission officer school. The funniest story I ever heard about one of those medical guys coming in direct commission, they had a blues inspection one night. This guy was like, brain surgeon or something like that. And he was an 05. And he comes out of his room wearing his SDBs, and he's got all these ribbons on. And the guys are like, where did you get those? And he said, oh, I got them at the uniform store. I thought they looked good.
Ah! Mr. Parker, I have a similar story about my father, because he was a doctor, he's a psychiatrist, and so he gets his direct commission, and so he goes to Newport, and he has his orders, and he goes to the PX because he doesn't have his uniforms, so he goes to this enlisted guy. He's like, hey, I need some uniforms, and the sailor was like, well, sir, you're an officer, so you actually have to go over there to get your uniforms. This is the enlisted side. So, yeah, my dad was direct commission. He was a psychiatrist, so he was a lieutenant when he got his commission, and then he got out after 2 years as a lieutenant commander. So yeah, that's crazy about those direct commissioning stories.
I just came off of a 3-year set of recall orders. I was over in Millington, working both at Navy Personnel Command and Navy Recruiting Command.
You have a great PX in Millington, by the way.
No.
Yeah, I bought my lawnmower there. It still works. It's awesome.
You go ahead and believe that, but no. My doctor at the clinic there, he's like 84. And he was telling me before he left that they made him retire at 75 because they found out he was 75 right before he was going on a deployment. And I was like, holy smokes. And it turns out he joined when he was 58, and he hid from them how old he was until it was time for him to go on a deployment. They found out he was 75 and said, no, you have to retire.
What?
Wow.
How do you keep your age from the Navy? You guys are good about that stuff.
I don't know.
Damn. And you're a lieutenant commander, you said?
I am. Yeah.
You already had a PhD before you went in?
I did. Yeah. I had it for, I got my PhD in 2001 and I got commissioned in 2013.
Wow. Yeah, it's completely backwards.
It is. Well, I got married for the first time at 45. So, talk to me about doing things backwards. And I just, for the fun of it, because, I had spare time and I liked it. I just finished the second master's degree in naval history because I wanted to.
Wow.
Well, that's kind of cool. Naval history?
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome.
It's a school in England, the University of Portsmouth, that has an online program. So I spent the last couple of years doing a PhD a master's degree in naval history. I don't think I want to go through the rigors of another PhD. That's a lot of work.
I tried. I did like 2 classes in my PhD, and I was like, nope. I've had enough school. That's it. My wife is just finishing up her MBA. She has one more class in marketing, IT and marketing, and she's getting it through Riviera University, and she's done by May. So Mother's Day, she graduates. She walks in New Hampshire.
Wow! Congratulations to her. It's a good effort.
I got my MBA. I haven't used it since 2010. Since I got it.
Hey, listen. When I was department chairman back in North Carolina, I had a meeting of a group of local business people, and someone asked the question, who in here is doing work related to your college degree? And there's about 50 people in the room. Only one person raised a hand. My undergraduate degree is in political science. I was teaching business classes. It's absolutely not related.
That was your undergrad? Was poli-sci?
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Wow.
So I had thoughts about being a political science professor for a long time, but they don't really make that much money. And so I switched my discipline and figured out, I could do better as a communication professor.
Did they make you read Plato's Republic in your
No.
poli-sci classes?
No.
Really?
No.
Wow.
No.
They made us that shit. I mean, I like Plato, but in a poli-sci class, it was kind of cool. But wow.
I had to read von Clausewitz at the Naval War College, so
Ugh.
that's torture enough.
That's a little heavy. Ooh,
Yeah.
Man.
So
You
you
are
before we hit
fascinating, sir.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think before we hit record, you're talking about the sunset through a periscope. Can you talk about that for a second?
Yeah, absolutely. So in August of 2015, while I was working as a deputy public affairs officer at the Pacific Submarine Force of Pearl Harbor, I got to go escort a journalist aboard a submarine, and it was a Virginia class submarine out of Pearl. And we spent 3 days underway, and in Virginia class submarine, it's not like the old Los Angeles classes or the Ohio classes when you walk into the control room and you've got the periscope column right there. You walk and you got the little handles, you look around on it. Now you walk into a Virginia class submarine and you've got 4 monitors up around the con. So you can just walk in anytime, and if the periscope's up, you can see what's on there. So I finished dinner one evening, left the wardroom, and strolled back into the con, and we were off the coast of Maui, and the sun was setting as I walked in. It's a gorgeous sight just to be able to see the sunset, on the monitor from the periscope on the submarine. That was fantastic. So, although the best, I will say this, the best sunsets I saw in the Navy from my travels had to be in Guam. Guam is a fantastic place. It's probably one of my favorite duty stations. I got to spend 6 weeks on Guam back in 2018. Went through a typhoon there, as a matter of fact. Super typhoon Mangkhut hit in September of 2018. So I got to spend a lot of time in the Regional Operations Center on the Crisis Action Team, helping out with the response on that. And Guam is a fantastic place. It's very remote, but they're the friendliest people, and it's a duty station that I would love to go back to at some point. It doesn't get enough attention. We had a campaign when I was at Pearl Harbor called Go Guam, where we were trying to, encourage submarine sailors to take up duty assignments in Guam. It is a fascinating place, a lot of history, beautiful, beautiful island, and amazing sunsets just over the horizon of the Philippine Sea. It's fantastic.
How's the food in Guam?
The food in Guam's actually very good. The interesting thing about the Guamanians, though, is for a big night out for them, if they want to go to a really great, I
love that.
The big thing that they want to go to is, it's a special night out, is hold your hats, Outback Steakhouse
In Guam.
Yeah, the thing for them is they love to have their mainland American chain restaurants there in Guam to visit. There's also a huge Kmart in Guam that's like just pretty much got everything. I'd go to the next and I'd look for stuff and I'd see, I'd go to Kmart. There was what I was looking for at a lot better price. So yeah, best thing about shopping at on base in Guam is the gasoline prices are about $2 a gallon less than what they were out on the island in the economy. So one fascinating thing you guys might enjoy, especially since we're about 2 weeks out from Christmas, is I had the opportunity in 2019 and 2020, after I left Sixth Fleet, I was assigned to as what we call an IMA, an individual mobilization augmentee to NORAD and U.S. Northern Command. And so I, for 2 years, was the deputy program manager for NORAD Track Santa.
What?
And so, yeah. So in 2019, I got to plan Santa's route.
No way.
Across the world. Yeah. And so I got to work with the team organizing the volunteers that come in from NORAD Track Santa. It was a huge operation then. It's been 4 years since I last did it, and I did it right before COVID hit, and then I had to do it during COVID. But in 2019, we had a 20-hour work week, or work day, I should say, on the 24th of December. where we ran 1,500 volunteers through a call center, answering, hundreds of thousands of calls over a 20-hour period from kids around the world, and then had the tracking of Santa going on the screen and partnership. There's an app for NORAD Track Santa that's actually done by local guys here in Tennessee that have helped out for the last couple of years on building the app for that. But it was one of the most rewarding things I've ever done is to do the Santa tracking. And then, when COVID hit, we went from having, a call center with 1,500 volunteers. We'd have, shifts of 10 shifts of 150 people per shift. We'd have 2 big rooms of 75 people. We had to take that down to, 10 shifts of 8 people. We had the same big conference rooms we had for 75 people. We could only put like 4 people in there because, we were still talking about transmission of COVID and things like that. And we still had people came down with COVID during all that time. As a matter of fact, one of the guys that was helping out, with the operation in 2020 gave me a call after I got back to Nashville and said, hey, I tested positive for COVID, so you might want to go check yourself out on that. But that's a rewarding program. It's the Department of Defense's biggest outreach program. It's coming up again. Santa will take flight starting on midnight on the 24th, and the call center in Colorado Springs will start taking calls 5 a.m. Central Time, so kids can know where Santa is on that day.
Oh my God, that is so cool!
I have it up on my screen right now. I thought NORAD was the Air Force thing.
It's joint. It's actually a binational command. So it's Canada and the United States, and so you have personnel from all of the branches of both the United States Armed Forces and the Canadian Armed Forces involved in NORAD.
Yeah, interesting. I didn't know that.
Isn't that that's where what's that movie with Matthew Broderick?
War Games.
War Games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great movie.
Yeah. Now nobody tracks Santa in Cheyenne Mountain. That's done, in a different place. That's they're not taking any resources away. They're not retasking any assets that should be monitoring, the airspace and the waterways.
Of course,
yeah.
A lot of people don't know this, but NORAD also monitors the maritime space around North America as well as the airspace.
Yeah.
Wow.
Have you ever been to that mountain?
I have not. I had chances to go when I was there, but I never got the chance to go in there. Part of that was because when COVID happened, operations, got curtailed quite a bit. As a matter of fact, when the virus started spreading around the world, I was actually there helping the team track it. So whenever it would pop up somewhere like Vietnam or Malaysia, I was the one that got to run and tell the battle watch captain, hey, it's popped up here now, it's popped up there now. And so I watched this thing spread around the world. And then I was actually on leave. My wife and I were in Hawaii, and we were on a plane island hopping from Kauai back to Oahu. And when we landed in Oahu, we found out, hey, things have shut down. My wife's job said, yeah, we're going to take an extra week off. And there were a lot of things going on. So it was an interesting time, to say the least.
Wow.
Yeah. It was pretty
Were
weird.
you ever attached as a public affairs to like the SEALs or Dev Group or no?
No. I've known plenty of SEALs. As a matter of fact, one of my classmates in Direct Commissioned Officer School has written a history of the SEALs.
Nice.
It's called Water Beneath the Walls, and his name is Ben Milligan, and he's written this wonderful book about the history of the SEALs. He would be, I think, a great person to come on and talk to you guys about some of his work in that area as well. But yeah, I went to high school with the guy, as a matter of fact, who went to the academy and became a SEAL. So I've known them and I've interacted with them, but I've never had to be their public affairs officer.
Mr. Parker, we have a lot of stuff in common because I went to high school with a guy that went to Vanderbilt, Navy ROTC, and then he became a SEAL Team 3, and he retired as a lieutenant commander, I think like, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago. That's very interesting.
Yeah. So, I'll tell you guys one what I think it's a pretty interesting story from my time in Ukraine. So I went to Ukraine as a lieutenant junior grade as part of a 17 nation multinational exercise called Seabreeze out of Odessa. And I had been at Pearl Harbor as the deputy public affairs officer at Pacific Submarine Force for a while. And I was expecting a lieutenant commander to show up to be the PAO. And well, this coup happened in Turkey, and people were not traveling through Istanbul for a while. And so, long story short, the guy wasn't able to make it to the exercise. And so I get this phone call going, "Hey, congratulations, you're going to be the PAO for this exercise." And I'm just like, oh, okay. Hadn't been in any planning conferences, don't speak any Ukrainian, didn't know what was going to go on with that. So I end up having, to go around with the guys that are running this and whatnot. And one of the things we did, which was crazy, was we hopped on a Ukrainian Navy helicopter to go to a couple of events for the exercise. Now, you can imagine, I'm looking at this helicopter that was built by a Soviet Union helicopter manufacturer, and they're literally like rolling out this generator on a cart to start this thing up. And this is like, vintage 1985 helicopter that they're starting up here. And
he said vintage 85.
I mean, we're getting on a helicopter. We got no cranium, we got no hearing protection, we got no eye protection.
Sorry, dude, that's funny.
I've got my earbuds in from my phone as my hearing protection. And we took 4 flights in this helicopter back and forth to different places. And on the last flight back, I noticed that kind of bolted up, kind of strapped really up on the side of the helicopter on the inside was a softball. It's aluminum softball bat. And I had a senior chief petty officer with me, and I was like, "Hey, what do you think the bat's for?" And so, this is a Navy helicopter. I'm thinking, okay, well, maybe they can have a water landing and they want to, break the windows out or something if they can't get the door open. And the senior chief says to me, maybe they're going to pick up a softball game or something. I don't know. So I leaned over to the Ukrainian crew chief and I said to him, "Hey, what's the bat for?" And he dead serious, does not break a smile or anything, looks at me and says in his best broken English, "It is for perhaps in case someone panic." Yeah, it's meaning if someone panicked, he was going to hit him with a bat.
Yeah. What the hell?
Sounds like something my drill instructor would say to me. Damn.
Yeah.
Fleek, I'm sorry, man. He said that vintage. I'm like, dude, but Fleek, you are vintage. I mean, you were chasing down the Russians in the Bering Strait in 1985 to 89. I mean, you were Russian killers.
Happens.
On the Vincent. Seriously, hey, Lieutenant Commander, sir, this guy, this yeoman on the Vincent was chasing down the damn Russians in 85, 86. I mean, that when he told us that on one of our first episodes, I was like, holy shit, that's like Rocky and Drago. That's like they're going at it. That's like Rocky 4. Like, oh my God. And then you've been all over you've been to every continent, right, sir?
I haven't been to Antarctica. I was hoping I would get there, but I don't think that's going to happen. Africa, technically, yes, because I had coming back from an exercise in the island of Mauritius, which is an island in the Indian Ocean about 400 miles east of Madagascar. I stopped in Johannesburg on the way back home. That's a 9-hour layover in that airport, which is there are worse airports to lay over for 9 hours, to be honest. And then I was in Japan for about 7 weeks. I helped stand up a unit that CNO established after the collisions in 2017 for McCain and Fitzgerald. So I helped those guys get off the ground. So I was in Japan. So so I've been, and I haven't been to Australia, unfortunately. I had some thoughts about going to Talisman Sabre, but then I was told, no, you don't want to go to Talisman Sabre.
Where's that?
That's a Marine exercise. It's apparently up in the bush, up in the Northern Territory. You don't get anywhere
Nope.
near civilization.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Dude,
do that one.
hey,
Stay
the
away from
West
that.
Coast Marines, they do that, man. I'm an East Coast Marine. I'd never even heard of that shit.
Yeah, no, that's one. But like I said, I enjoyed my time with the Marines in Norway, in Trondheim. Great group of people.
What year was that?
2018.
Did the Marines drink all of the beer in that city?
Not in Trondheim. They drank what happened was
I heard it.
one of the
I heard
ships-
this story. I know the lieutenant colonel of it was 3rd Battalion, 8th Marines, right?
I don't know I can't tell you what unit it was, but here's
I know it was.
Well,
those guys drank all the beer in that city, all of it.
Well, it wasn't Trondheim. It was Reykjavik, Iceland.
Okay.
And so I was working in the Joint Information Center, the U.S. Joint Information Center at Exercise Trident Juncture, and the story came over the wires. Because I'm the media officer. I'm looking at all the stuff that's coming in, and it was great to watch the difference between how American media reported that story and how Russian media reported that story. So, for instance, Stars and Stripes reported it like, yeah, okay, they had fun. And there's all these great interviews with people in Reykjavik going, oh, we love the Marines. They were fantastic, very polite. They helped doing everything. Sputnik, which is a Russian news outlet, is probably the most nefarious and god-awful Russian news outlet you want, because they combine a lot of lies in with facts, and it's a propaganda arm. But they portrayed the Marines like they were, Vikings come back to pillage all of the beer in Reykjavik, and there's wailing and gnashing of teeth because all the beer is gone from the bars and whatnot. And it was a great illustration of the difference on how American media coverage versus Russian media coverage on one event of drinking all the beer played out over time.
Yeah, of course.
Yep. It was my guys. Marine Corps Times, about 700 Marines out of Camp Lejeune kicked off the Corps' largest yet deployment to Norway as part of its continuing rotational presence to train in cold weather environments. 3-8, Major Adrian Rankin Galloway. Those were my guys. They told me stories that, yes, in Norway, they depleted the amount of beer. And the battalion commander of 3-8 is actually in the VFW, because I recruited him into our VFW, and he lives in Chattanooga. I know exactly who he is, and he's a musician down in Chattanooga, and I love the guy.
Fantastic. Yeah.
That is hilarious that you were in the same area of operation of those guys.
Oh, I have these patches from Trident Juncture that I have like on, like a notebook cover and on a jacket I wear. And I bump into people and they go, sir, were you at Trident Juncture? I'm like, yeah, I was at Trident Juncture. Yeah. It's one of the best things I ever did.
That is the coolest. That is the coolest thing I've ever. Sorry. NATO, US, UCOM. Oh.
Have you ever been to the Philippines?
I did not get to the Philippines. So with your tales of chasing the Russians, though, I will relate to you a small story about my late Uncle David's former ship, the Bronstein class frigate USS McCloy. After he got off of it, he'd been gone for 3 or 4 years. McCloy was making a transit back to Norfolk from a cruise in the Med, and they had their towed array behind them. And all of a sudden, about 500 miles off Bermuda, the thing went dead. And so, like, what happened? Where did the signal go? So they reel the array in, and the cable is all frayed. It's all mangled, and the array is gone. And like, okay, what happened here? So, they reel it in. They go back into port. Well, about 3 days later, NSA satellite caught a Victor 3 on the surface of the Atlantic with a tugboat pushing it toward Havana. Apparently, it had snagged McCloy's towed sonar array and fouled up its screws. And so it was one of those instances where the Russians got a little close and bit off more than they could chew.
Dude, I swear to God, I feel
Yeah.
like I'm like watching The Hunt for the Red October right now. Like both of you remind me of Alec Baldwin's character. Like we got Sean Connery over here, we got Alec Baldwin down here, who's an analyst and a PhD in naval history, which is
Yeah, it's pretty awesome,
exactly
by the
what
way.
Alec Baldwin, his
Well,
character did, Jack Ryan.
my PhD is not in naval history. I
Sorry.
just recently finished up a degree in that.
Sorry.
Yeah,
But
it's
I do love
masters.
history is important, and
Yes.
what you guys are doing here is actually very important as well. And hats off to you for inviting veterans on to tell their stories, because it's really important for people to hear the stories that veterans have to say, and to understand the experiences and the adventures that we all have. I have people ask me all the time, do you regret leaving higher education? Do you regret quitting? Will you ever go back to being a professor? And the answer to all of that is no. I don't regret leaving. I don't think I could ever go back to being a professor. I mean, it's one of those things that my perspective and has changed. My outlook, my experiences are different than what they were when I left. But the best thing about what I did to leave my career to join the Navy is I served with the finest people I've ever known. I mean, it's all about the people you're with. And I can't even begin to talk about just the amazing people that I've got to meet and to become friends with and to grow close to over the years. Just it's something that you don't find in the civilian world. You don't find it in the academic world. You don't find it anywhere else but the military. And it's a really rewarding thing to do, to join and to serve and to become brothers and sisters in arms with people that are following the same value system, share those beliefs, and to realize that you're part of something that's bigger than you are. It's really amazing. So thank you guys seriously for what you're doing here. This is so important.
Yeah, thank you.
That was an amazing answer. Holy shit. I mean, Fleek, you better record that or write it down. And that's going in the next, that's going in the cookbook.
Yeah.
So I will,
that is a good segue to our question. So I'm going to ask you two questions.
All right.
First one, we will find out what the second question is going to be. So, Lieutenant Commander Parker, what is your favorite? No, actually, no. Pick a number between 1 and 6 and 8 and 10.
So 1 through 10, just skip 7.
Don't pick 7. Just pick 1 through 10, but don't pick 7.
Oh, okay. So this is one number I pick and not
one number. Yes.
Okay. All right. Then I will pick 6.
You pick 6.
Boom.
Okay. Number 6. This is a question we ask all of our guests. We ask them the same thing, and they always give us different answers, except for the fact that the past 10 people that we've interviewed have picked a number 7. That's why we said 7 is off limits.
Sure, I'm sure it was more than 10. For
probably more. Yeah.
For months, everybody was picking 7. We're like, what the heck, man?
Yeah. But here it is, number 6. How did you stay motivated and resilient during the toughest times in your service, past and present?
Well, that's a great question. Resilience and motivation are important things, and I've had some tough times. It's not been wine and roses the whole way. I think we all have assignments that aren't what we would consider to be great, and that we think, why have I done this? What have I gotten myself into? Is this really worth it? And I think what really had kept me going in those times were the people around me. It was the fact that I found people that I could talk to, and I found out that I wasn't the only person who had a tough experience with a senior officer, or that I had had a circumstance that was thoroughly disappointing, that kind of deflated me. But there's also the knowledge that We don't know what's around the next bend. We don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I had high hopes at one point for taking a 1-year assignment to go to London, and that fell through. And I was really disappointed that I wasn't going to be able to do that. But on the heels of that came an opportunity to go to Italy. And, I got to be in Italy for like 7-8 months.
Oh,
And, I got to go see
Tough.
Rome and Florence and Venice.
I
And,
hate you.
and I could sit there on the balcony of my apartment and watch the sunset and the trains go by and stuff like that. And it was
Only in the Navy. I mean, Marines, we don't
Yeah.
get those kind of assignments ever.
yeah.
Gee,
So, I
unless
mean,
you're MSG.
yeah. And I mean,
Jesus.
the other thing is, I don't wear my faith on my sleeve a lot. It's pretty personal thing to me. But my faith in God really got me through a lot in many cases. And one of the things that I have found astounding is that Christians tend to find one another very easily in the military. It's an unintentional thing, so to speak, but you do come across one another, and it's that strength not only in the shared values within the military itself, but also in a common faith that kind of helps you go on as well.
That was perfect. That was a
a
perfect
great
answer.
answer.
That was great. That was succinct. It was concise. It was well thought out. I give it an A. At least an A.
Almost
Hey, I'm
like
the
you
professor.
are almost like you're a PhD.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
almost like you're a professor or something.
Yeah.
And PhD stands for phony diploma. Don't let anybody tell you.
I don't regret not continuing with my PhD because I mean I got a BA in classical studies and then I got my MBA because my mom, like, after the Marine Corps, like before the Marine Corps I had a BA. After the Marine Corps I got my MBA. And at the time right now I get to help veterans, and Fleek, he asked me to help him out with this, and I love doing this because I get to talk to different people. I mean, operators, intel guys, information guys, like, people that weren't grunts, people that were grunts. I mean, it's just amazing. All walks of life, and we love hearing your story, Lieutenant Commander.
Oh,
Yes.
thanks
It was amazing.
I just have one request though, Lieutenant Commander Parker. If you ever happen to have a son, can you please name him Peter?
Peter.
Yeah, okay, fine, but unless I adopt a kid, I'm not going to have any sons. So,
I'm in the same boat with you, sir.
so
Hey, are you picking up Commander anytime
I
soon?
doubt it. I doubt it.
Are you like, how old are you, if you don't mind me
I'll be
asking?
55 in April.
Are they?
Yeah, you gotta get them scrambled eggs, man.
My goal was Lieutenant Commander, and I've made it. If who's to say what'll happen? It's if they offer it to me, that's fantastic. But I'm happy at Lieutenant Commander.
Do you have to run like a PT or anything? Like, as a lieutenant, do officers run PT and all that stuff?
Well, officers are still required to maintain the physical fitness standards. You still have to do the PRT. The Navy, we have options of you don't have to run, you can swim.
Huh.
You can swim,
nice.
you can row, you can do a stationary bike. There are options there.
Oh, man, if I was a naval officer, I'd be rowing my heart out, man. I would love that.
My preference has always been the stationary bike.
Okay.
But I mean, I know a couple people who do the swim.
Wow.
Yeah. You have to pass a Class 3 swim test to be in the Navy. So a lot of people
I'm a 2. I'm a 2.
All right.
Do you like, even in even in Rhode Island, when you're in OCS, do you have to go into like a fake ship and like they flood it and you have to like?
Not at direct commissioned officer school. That when I went through, it was only a 2-week program. Now it's a 5-week.
That's exactly what my dad went through. Yep. They call it what, knife and
fork school.
Knife and fork school.
I mean, yeah, I think the feedback from a lot of people like me that said that, hey, 2 weeks isn't really enough time. And then they decided okay, maybe we need to have a longer program. So they combined Direct Commission Officer School with Officer Development School, which is what the warrant officers go through.
Okay.
And a lot of the LDOs go through. And so there's that now. And so it's a 5-week thing. And that's tough for a lot of reservists, to get 5 weeks off from work to go through that sort of a training program. And I applaud employers that are willing to do that sort of thing, because as I discovered, not every employer is going to be supportive, and that's unfortunate because reservists really do a lot for the country, and they're balancing commitment to the service along with their civilian careers, and more importantly, the commitment to the families. And it's a three-legged stool, and it's often very difficult to maintain the balance on that. So the 5 weeks is challenging, but the Navy's still managing to bring people in the Direct Commission Officer program. They're still managing to put new ensigns and new doctors and others who want to serve into the roles that need to be filled.
That is really cool. That is really cool.
Yeah.
Damn. Fleek, do you have any final saved rounds?
No, I'm good, man.
Well, Lieutenant Commander Parker, thank you so much.
Can I tell you guys one more story?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So
go ahead. We love your stories.
So my two brushes with fame that happened when I was at Pearl Harbor. Are you guys fans by chance of the TV show Battlestar Galactica?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. In the 80s and 90s. Yes. Not this new stuff, but yes.
Okay. So the new one I'm a big fan of, the one that came out about 20 years ago. So with Edward James Olmos.
Yeah. Edward James Olmos. That's right. Yeah. That's the one I like. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sitting at dinner one night, my phone rings, and it's my boss. And my boss tells me, he's like, hold on a second. He's got two phones going at one time. And so, I'm sitting there, eating my dinner, waiting for him to get off the other phone. And I hear him on the other phone say, well, yeah, he was in this movie, Stand and Deliver. And I think he got an Oscar nomination. I said, oh my God, he's talking about Edward James Olmos. And he's like the star of Battlestar Galactica, my favorite TV show of all time. And so, he hangs up the phone and he comes back on. I said, sir, I'll do it. Whatever you need. Edward James Olmos, I'm in 100%. He's like, calm down for a second. Okay. He said, here's the thing. He said, so back in the early 90s, Edward James Olmos was part of a group of protesters when the Navy was bombing out in BKs, and he got arrested. And so there's some concern about activism and whatnot, but some sailors have invited him for a submarine tour, and they need you to go to the base to escort him. And I'm like, not a problem. And I said, and don't worry about it. He's going to be fine. Because I had watched like every Making of Battlestar Galactica special that they had run. And so I knew this guy had gone like through a boot camp and had like, I knew that he was going to be okay. So I get to base, I'm waiting for him to show up, and I go to the submarine. The captain comes out, and he is just like wound up tighter than a Swiss watch. And I'm like, sir, what's the issue? And he's like, well, here's the thing. He's like, this guy, he was at VCAS and he got arrested. I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, I was the lieutenant who was there with the admiral, and he's going to recognize me, and it's going to be bad. And the chief of the boat sitting there rolling his eyes about the whole thing. And I'm like, I think it'll be okay, sir. And I'm sitting there thinking, you're a lieutenant. He's not going to know who you are. And the captain says, well, I'm going to coin this guy, and I'm going to get him off my boat. We're going to be done with this in half an hour, and it's going to be over. So, he rolls up with these two sailors. And I go and I pick him up, and I'm like, hey, sir, I'm Lieutenant Parker. And he smiles, says, hi, I'm Admiral Adama. And I was just like, oh, that is awesome. He's almost in character. So dude comes on, he's very polite. He's very respectful. He's like really friendly. He's like taking photos, signing autographs, all the other stuff. The captain, who is stiff as a board, takes him down. 30 minutes, coin the guy off the ship. 2 hours later, they come up from the ship, and I hear Olmos talking to the captain going, well, you have to watch the thing from the miniseries going forward. And he's like carrying a travel mug from the submarine, and like he's got like other swag with him. So apparently he like really impressed the captain. And so, after he gets done with that, his tour and whatnot, he gives this very nice, very respectful speech to the crew, thanking them for everything they're doing. It's very humble and really appreciative of all we do. And I managed to get a photo with him before he left because he'd been doing that with everybody else. And so I kept that on my desk in my last assignment with me and Edward James Olmos. So that was Brush with Destiny #1, or with Fame number one. Number 2 came a couple of weeks later when submarine USS Houston was getting ready for to take its last deployment, and actually they were underway in their last deployment. And so the ship sponsor was Barbara Bush, and my boss comes to me and says, "I need you to get Barbara Bush out here for the homecoming." And I'm like, "Oh, how do I do that?" And he's like, "Okay, well, call." He gave a name of someone I knew who worked in Washington and who was also a Navy reservist. And I said, okay. So I called the person and told him who I was and what I was doing. And I said, I need to get in touch with Barbara Bush because they want to invite her out for ship's homecoming because she's the ship sponsor. And he said, okay, I'll get you something. And so he sends me an email like an hour later, and it's just an email address to like Barbara Bush's assistants. And so I wrote these people. And I was like, hey, Mrs. Bush is the ship sponsor for USS Houston. They are on their final cruise before the ship decommissions, and we wanted to invite her to come out to Hawaii for the ship's homecoming. And the reply came back that, well, thanks for the invite. That's very nice, but Mrs. Bush doesn't travel anymore. And I was like, oh, okay. So I go back into my boss and I said, hey, no, Joy, she doesn't travel anymore. And he's like, well, did you offer to do a video? And I was like, well, no. He's like, well, go back and ask if they'll do a video message. And I said, okay. And so I wrote back, and the response came back, yes, she'll do the video message if you write the script. And I was like, okay, fair enough. So I go and I write this script. It's like 4.5 minutes long. And they come back and they say, we love it. It's too long. Just got to cut it down. So I got it down to like 1.5 minutes. And so about a week later, they send this message, and it's word for word everything I wrote that Barbara Bush is like speaking to the crew. And so we get the video package, we send it to the submarine. Those guys spent like 8 hours at Periscope depth downloading this video message because it's being beamed at like 256K and so at like dial-up speeds. And so of course the crew is going nuts because they're bored because they're just sitting there for 8 hours orbiting. And so the captain held it for like 3 weeks, and on the way home showed him the message in cruise mess. Said it wasn't a dry eye in a cruise mess when it was done. So it was like pretty cool. So I'm organizing the final namesake visit for Houston to go to Texas to see the mayor or whatnot. And the skipper asks, hey, can you get me can you get us a tour of the Bush Library while you're there? I said, yeah, sure, no problem. So I write Barbara Bush's people back, and the response comes back, President and Mrs. Bush will be happy to welcome you and the crew of Houston when you come to visit.
What? No way.
What?
And I was like, whoa. And so I immediately took that email to the submarine and went aboard and pulled the triad into the captain's quarters and said, hey, skipper, you guys just got invited to meet President and Mrs. Bush. And they're like, are you coming? I'm like, I don't think I'm going to be able to go, but I'll organize everything for you that I can. So, and they did. They got to meet President and Mrs. Bush. They took President Bush socks and other things like that. So, because he was a big lover of socks. So it was kind of a cool deal that all that worked out. And a fun fact, when I promoted to lieutenant commander, I had the skipper of Houston do the promotion.
Wow, that's cool.
Holy shit. Dude, fascinating. Dude,
Yeah.
by far, I was not expecting this tonight. I was not. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, he was like, what, a damn reservist squid? This is bullshit.
Whoa. Oh, okay, so you're gonna blame the E4. Okay, that's fine. That's cool.
I'm completely joking on that.
Hey, babe, I'm sorry. Sorry, my wife, she just got home. She says hi to you.
Aloha.
But hey, Lieutenant Parker, Lieutenant Commander Parker, thank you so much. And I'm getting an evil eye from my wife right now. No. So
guys, again, thank you for doing this. It's a great forum for veterans to tell their stories, and I hope more will do so.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to send you an email after this is done. So just thanking you and everything.
Stick around for 1 second just so I can hit end record.
Okay.
All right. I just want to wrap it up. Thanks
Okay.
for joining us, Mr. Parker. All of our followers, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next Sunday.
See you guys.